Now, Singapore is charting a roadmap towards Phase 3 reopening after the COVID-19 circuit breaker. The Multi-Ministry Taskforce has announced a further easing of restrictions for businesses and the wider community. Cheryl Goh joins us and now for more on this. Cheryl, what does the roadmap to Phase 3 reveal?
Well, Steve, as we know, the circuit breaker ended on the 1st of June. So it's been about 3 months since we've had those really severe restrictions. And we've been living in this Phase 2, which is probably the closest thing to life as per normal pre-COVID as we have now, or as what most people would call the new normal that we're getting used to. So the task force is basically saying that it has plans to reach this Phase 3 of reopening, and this is in the works with more details to be announced in the coming weeks. This is given that the outbreak here really has stabilized and community cases in particular are down. Now, what we can expect as we move towards hitting Phase 3 is more relaxation of measures and opening up of activities, including that 5-person limit for dining out, which we have right now. So basically, we're looking at a more progressive, ongoing journey to ease more restrictions, and of course, in a very careful and calibrated manner, including some of the measures that were announced today. The idea really is for Singapore to reach a point where it is comfortable to function, and this is where we will be in this state until we get a vaccine.
What's critical and what's very important for all of us to understand is that this progressive trajectory towards continued opening is contingent on all of us doing our part. It's not to be taken for granted, and it's not an automatic progression. It's contingent on all of us cooperating, as I said, being part of the Trace Together program, complying with safe management measures to ensure that contact tracing is effective.
Cheryl, the task force has also announced the easing of measures for the workplace as well as the community. Can you tell us more about that?
Yep. So basically, Dawn, the business measures in particular are steps to really help Singapore to rebuild and gradually open up its economy. Working from home does remain the default arrangement, but from next Monday, which is the 28th of September, employers can start to allow employees back into the office, but with certain conditions. Now, these employees must still continue to work from home for at least half of their working time, and also no more than half of the staff, the total workforce or the total population of an office can be at the workplace at any point in time. This is to minimize crowding also. Employers should either have them on a roster for staggered hours or split the staff into teams and alternate when these teams are allowed into the office. Work-related events for capacity of up to 50 people will be allowed. So these include conferences, corporate retreats, and also annual general meetings. However, the task force did say that although restrictions are eased, there are measures in place to ensure that proper action is taken by companies. Now, for instance, in the event of a confirmed case at a workplace, the employers really have to respond immediately and do things like segregating the affected area where the case was, and also to conduct thorough cleaning and disinfection. Authorities did say that work sites with confirmed cases, they could potentially be suspended on public health grounds if the situation were to escalate. Now, besides looking within Singapore, it's also piloting more restrictions that are limited to outside of Singapore. For instance, a new business travel pass for senior executives in Singapore for those who need to travel regularly for work. So travelers on this pass will be allowed to travel, but they have to follow a strict controlled itinerary. They need to come back and either take a swab test or self-isolate when they return to Singapore. Back to you guys in the studio.
Cheryl, thank you very much for that. Cheryl Goh there with the latest on Singapore's Multi-Ministry Taskforce.